We'll make it quick. Welcome back to Still Eligible, podcast number 6. I am pumped to be here. We've got a great show for you. It is March.
It is.
The Mecca, March Madness. It's what we live for. It's one of the things we live for. We live for a lot of things.
Yeah, we have purpose.
But it's going to be a great episode. We're going to make it quick. We have a nice little intro for you. We got some appreciate yous. We've got a big announcement. I'm excited about it. Pat, I don't know if you are.
I'm pumped.
Do you even know what the announcement is?
No, but I'm still pumped.
And we got Jared Freid on. Jared Freid is one of Pat's buddies.
Yeah.
Absolutely hilarious. He roasts us. We made a charcuterie board. You might have saw that on social. We did. What else did we do? We talked about our Bachelor entrances.
Bachelor. Yours was electric.
I don't know if it was electric. His was electric.
His was electric. Mine.
He put thought into that.
Mine summed up my personality very well. Not electric.
Not electric. But yeah, I'm pumped about today's show. When it comes to my favorites, it's one of my top 6. So
wow, that's impressive. Yeah. Should we just get right into it?
After you, sir.
First question I have is, I got a couch. Is your TV mounted yet?
TV is mounted.
Great. Moving on. Appreciate ya is a segment we like to do. We go off of your catchphrase.
Yes,
we
sir.
pick a few people / topics who did some cool stuff this week, and we let them know that we appreciate them. So I'll start. My first appreciate ya is people who are smarter than us.
Well,
and there's a lot. There's a
majority
lot,
of them.
There's a lot of those people. I say this mostly related to the COVID vaccine because not sure if you heard, news came out, all adult Americans could potentially be vaccinated by the end of May.
Let's go.
So had we been tasked with making the COVID vaccine, I don't think we'd be on the same timeline.
No, there would be no timeline.
No.
It just wouldn't simply happen.
Yeah. So that's, people who are smarter than us.
We appreciate you. I could never do like the spelling bee. Those kids are like 12 and spelling everything.
It's impressive.
What's the country of origin? Sandra. So Sandra, you're gonna do your little debut on. Well, you've done your debut, but not an appreciate yet debut.
Yeah, I think this one's pretty warranted. This is pretty cool. I have appreciate ya for a team of incredible women: Alex Morgan, Sue Bird, Simone Manuel, and Chloe Kim. Just legendary athletes of all ages. Super cool.
Yeah.
They teamed up for a new women-focused media company called Together, and it's formed to help amplify women's voices in the world of sports. So
we love that.
Can't think of anything.
We support that.
Cooler.
Just don't leave us. You can appreciate them, but
so
we need you.
We need you.
Yeah. So all those women, and I know there's going to be a ton of women working behind them and creating it. So all of those women, appreciate you.
Yeah. We'll make sure to follow along with that closely.
Together with an X, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The E is an X. It's actually pretty cool. I don't know if you saw. Yeah. The way it's formed, it symbolizes a bunch of different things. So the left side of it is. It's filled in, and the other is like a stroke, like an outline of the X. So it symbolizes greater than, which is cool. And then the kind of motion that they use is like moving forward. So there's a lot of symbolism. You know, I love design and logos.
You do love design and logos.
Yeah.
So.
Some would say you're the design and logo person for Still Eligible.
Some
Scholars would argue.
It's true.
Not me.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Why don't you just land that appreciate you one more time for us?
Yeah, all those women, and especially the 4 leading the march. Appreciate you.
Beautiful. Well done.
Good job.
Way better than Pat.
Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's only fitting that we end with me. I don't know why I said that. So, Cade Cunningham, I don't know if you saw this, #1 overall pick. Absolute beast. Has
he been drafted yet?
I mean, he might as well be.
Okay.
If he's not, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
But he should be the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft. He was honored at senior night for Oklahoma State the other day. Newsflash, he's a freshman. So he's done some work there. He's well respected. Absolutely balled out. He also, they were playing #7 Oklahoma the other day and dropped 40 points on him. 40 points, 11 boards, 3 steals, 2 blocks. Shot 57% from the field, 1x4 in OT. So that's not a bad day at the office.
No.
That's more than I've ever seen you do at the office.
Yeah.
So it's a good day.
It's a lot more.
I would love to see him play.
Yeah, no, he's a beast. I think he'll probably be the top pick. So
I just said that.
I'm just reiterating what you say.
Well, when I said I love to see him play, this is actually setting us up for the big announcement.
Oh, okay, got
Yeah,
it.
so you're a little whatever.
Yes.
So the big announcement that I teased earlier, and I'm about to tell you now. Dramatic pause. That was what that was. Do you have something to say?
Did you not say appreciate you?
Oh, man. I'm excited over here. The big announcement.
So excited for the announcement.
Okay, Cade Cunningham. Appreciate you.
That was also great. Both of you did great.
Now the announcement's just been drawn on so long. People are on the edge of their
That's suspense.
seats or
Good work.
wherever you're listening to this to. Maybe on YouTube. Appreciate you. Follow us on YouTube. Still eligible on social media at Still Eligible. I'm Jack Strail. That's Pat Stanzik. That's the podcast. No, the big announcement is we are going to the Big 12 tournament next week.
Yes.
Kansas City. Never been. We're going to go. We're going to tear it up. Barbecue.
Lots of
basketball. I was looking for another B, but I couldn't pull it out. Beers.
Yeah, for you. Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm pumped to see Cade play. I haven't been to a sporting event in a minute, and that's something I enjoy.
No, it will be good to see some sports in person, see some
being
basketball. Played. Yes.
Big 12. Pretty good at basketball. 7 other 10 teams are ranked. So I think it's going to be a good tournament. I don't know. So
should be fun. We're going to do a lot of fun stuff. Follow us on social. We'll
I just plugged that.
Be documenting it. Just reiterating.
No, you can never plug too much. I just have to roast you. It's part of my deal. It's in my contract.
I know.
It actually is. I never showed you it.
Oh, wasn't aware of that. So we are super excited for this interview coming up. We got an interview with Jared Freid, stand-up comedian.
Legend.
Also a podcaster. His stand-up special just dropped on his YouTube channel. We watched it last night.
We did watch it.
Hilarious. Please check it out. Let's just get right into it. What was that noise?
My transition.
So today we have stand-up comedian, host of the J Train podcast, co-host of the U Up podcast, also a Penn State grad. His new stand-up special, Socially Distanced, of course, drops Tuesday, March 2nd at 9 p.m. Eastern on his YouTube channel, which is youtube.com. This is going to give away his name, /Jared Freid. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at JTrain56 and on Instagram at Jared Freid. Welcome to the podcast, Jared Freid.
It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for all that energy with the intro. I really appreciate it.
He brings the heat around here.
I knew it. I knew when I was coming on here it was going to be like a morning zoo. And I'm pumped to be here. Thank you for the glorious introduction. It's great to be on the podcast with the most pre-podcast swag I've ever seen. You guys have more merch pre-podcast drop than any podcast has ever had. I don't know whose dad has money. But someone's dad invested a pretty penny into this podcast because there's no podcast with 0 listeners. More hats than listeners. So,
we do have more hats than listeners.
I more logos and merch than listeners but I do have to say, it's a great name. I love the premise.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you guys.
Yeah, we might have got a little ahead of ourselves with the merch. We're trying to literally
it's
just
throw look good, play good.
Yeah, we're throwing our hat over the fence.
Got excited.
So to speak.
I get it. You were like, we got an aesthetic. We got to make sure people understand we're not just a podcast. We're a brand. We're
more than a podcast.
We're more than a podcast. We are an entity. We are a movement. We are, I get it. I like it. I'm all about entrepreneurship.
You got to be our marketing coordinator. I feel like you like this more than most people.
Listen, I just want to see you two on Shark Tank. I want to see Mr. Wonderful and dress you guys. I want to see him. I would love to see Mr. Wonderful be like, so wait a minute. 3 logos, a trailer, merch. When does the podcast start? You're on episode, what, 6?
We'll get around to it.
Also, just want to make sure everybody knows the connection here. I played lacrosse at Michigan with Jared's younger brother, Harry. So that's kind of how we know each other. How is Harry doing before we get into the interview?
Harry's great. The guy's he's a retired, Jewish man living in Florida. Good for him. So
that's what everyone strives for.
I mean, listen, I was just down there. Life ain't bad down there. I'm here in Gray, New York, and he's doing it right. But Pat, we go way back. I've always been a huge fan. I'm pumped for you. All jokes aside, all merch aside, I'm excited for this new venture, and I'm a huge supporter. So I'm pumped to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So let's get right into it. I think actually Jack wants to.
Yeah, I'll get things going. I mean, appreciate you
Please.
coming on. First of all, I'm sorry, Pat, like you have a history with him, but I'm kind of dealing with it on a day to day. But so your special drops tomorrow. I guess we're filming this on a Monday. How is that? I mean, we watched the trailer. The trailer's awesome. Socially distanced, of course.
Thank you. I should have sent you I had a screener link. I should have sent it to you guys before we did it today.
Yeah, we could have hyped you up. I mean, we are gonna hype you up.
Well, I appreciate it.
It drops on YouTube.
Yeah.
What's the premise of all that? It looks
the
looks
premise is like I basically, when pandemic started in March, I had to stop doing stand up at night. That that sucks. But I was like basically just sitting there stewing, kind of jotting some notes down, and then like things started to slowly open, and I had friends that were like, "Hey, you want to come do my winery, or you want to come perform on this street corner? You want to perform on top of a dumpster?" And yeah, I was like a cat in a Disney movie, like just going around, barking my jokes at people while they walked by. And that's kind of the scene. That's what New York kind of turned into over the summer. And yeah, I would go to Connecticut a lot because they had more like farms you could perform at. Like I am not like, this isn't high, like, I'm not exaggerating at all. Like I was performing at farms next to chickens and goats. Like I'm not joking at all. And you can't, during a pandemic, you can't go on stage and just go, "So dating, right? So I moved in with my girlfriend, right?" Because there were shows you're like, you had this moment. I'm sure you guys, all of us had this moment where like you kind of rise out of your body and you're like, "Oh my God, this is me in the movie about the apocalypse." Yeah. I was doing my podcast daily and I'm like, "Welcome to the quarantine cabin." And I'm like, what the am I saying? Like, this is like ridiculous. And so like, I always loved talking on stage about the social kind of like, like Pat, you and I always were like touching on certain things of like how people are on Instagram. Like I remember, Pat, you gave me the best compliment in the world. I think you texted my brother over Thanksgiving like 6 years ago. You're like, "I feel like your brother's going to kill it on Twitter for the holiday." And that's really why I started doing the holiday tweets. I remembered you texting him saying that, and I always appreciate that. I'm not even joking. I've never told you that, but I did appreciate that. And I was like, okay, like I talk about dating, I talk about charcuterie, I yell at the Bachelor, I do a lot of stupid things, but it's hard to find the confidence to be like, "So let me tell you about what's going on in the world today." Like I don't really have that. Yeah. Who am I to tell people like, sometimes you see stand-ups on stage like, "Men be like this." Like I'm not looking to do that. I want to speak from personal experience. And we're all going through the pandemic at the same time. So I did feel like I had some things to say about what was going on, just the social stuff, how people were saying we're all in this together while posting a story about them running to the beach. It's like, we're not in this together. Like there's like, and it's like, I think like a lot of my comedy, like looking at like, I look at the class warfare of a lot of things, like, and it was front and center, and the social anxieties of 2020, no matter what your position was, no matter if you were on Montauk or you had, lost your home, you still had these social anxieties. It didn't matter, where you kind of landed economically. There was like, how do I answer? How am I doing? How do I, why does everyone looking at me like, why is everyone mad at each other? Like, who am I in New York to look at Florida people and go, look at those idiots on the beach. How do I know? I don't know how it transmits on the beach. So don't you. So it's like I started building this material on the street corners of New York, in the farms of Connecticut, in the wineries of, Rhode Island. And I had like 20 minutes of COVID jokes. And that sounds so bad, but that's what they were. And
it is what it is.
It is what it is. And then clubs kind of opened up around the country a little bit. And I started doing some road work where with half capacity and people wearing masks in the crowd. And again, people kind of wanted to hear about this stuff. People wanted to make fun of it a little bit and take a little bit of ownership of the time we're living in. And I got to 30 minutes of material. And I was like, I had a show scheduled on New Year's Eve. And I was like, just like you guys, I was like, I made all the merch, just like you guys have invested money in starting your podcast. I was like, let's put some money into this. I'll put it on YouTube. This material about COVID, I hope a year from now it seems old. Like, I hope we're in such a good place that it's old. So I was like, now's the time. People are stuck inside a little bit still. So let's put it up on YouTube. Let's make it look fantastic. It's made by great people, and it's made to look like a Netflix special. It's made to be put on your TV. It's not made to be watched on your phone. It's made to be make a night of it. And it's a 35-minute stand-up special called Socially Distanced, of course. And it's all about, and this is a difficult thing. I don't think people understand this, but stand-up, I have material that I've been doing for 4 years and I'm like, it's not ready yet. I was like, I got this 30 minutes that's definitely not ready yet, but it has to be ready, now's the time. So I was like, let's package it, put it up. And so now it's going to be on YouTube on Tuesday night at 9. That's the premiere. And then it stays up there. And I hope it gets 1 million hits so I can put out the fun stuff I talk about, I hope someone comes into me and says, Jared, oh, wow, if your pandemic special did this many hits, what could the next thing hit? So that's my hope. And, I just hope people can laugh. And again, it's also, I'm a moderate. I'm not politically inclined. I really have never, I don't care. And when you say that, people go, oh, privileged not to care. Okay, fine. Then I'm privileged too. I don't, that's good. Thank God I'm privileged. I like heated seats. Okay. But I'm saying, my point is that I think there's a lot of people who land in the space that I am in. I think most people are in the, I'll wear the mask. The guy who doesn't want to wear the mask is crazy. The person that's wearing 7 masks is also crazy. I'm going along to get along. I want to eat, sleep, and I want a little extra money to do those nicely. So that's the perspective of the whole special. It's all material from that perspective of we're not the people that yell at people online, where's your mask? But we're also wearing the mask. So the problem I have is those people are generally not the YouTube commenters. They're generally the people in the back going, pretty good. Thumbs up. And that's the audience I serve. That's the audience that likes The Bachelor. That's the audience that likes dating jokes. That's the audience that likes to fuck with charcuterie. So that's the whole special. That is it. If any of this monologue spoke to someone listening, they should go check it out.
Yeah, for sure. Just watching your career, I just got to say, I remember, I think I met you in person once at a lacrosse party or something like that, and then we've kind of kept in touch over the years. It's been awesome just to see how you've grown, and just whenever I tell someone about you, I'll send my stuff to friends and just pass along your tweets or memes or whatever. I've always been trying to help you build the brand. At this point, you definitely don't need my help, but I still do it because your stuff is so good. And I just want,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to kind of, talk about your career a little bit. You were selling life insurance before. Can you talk about how you got started?
Real quick before you go, I've never heard Pat compliment anyone so much. My favorite thing is to roast Pat and see him complimenting you. I'm all right, I'm just sitting back and letting you two have a conversation at this point. But yeah, go with that. That's cool.
Yeah, this is what.
It's a mutual admiration society podcast. I feel the same way. I appreciate it, and that's the thing. Some people you tell about what you do. I was selling life insurance. I'm making cold calls all day. I'm out of college. I just wanted to work. Like, I think most people out of college just want to like work and feel valuable. And I think and I was doing that. I was working, but I didn't really feel valuable. I didn't feel good at it. I didn't feel like I was, it wasn't something I was enjoying. And again, like, I don't like when people are like, oh, good, got out of finance. F those people. No. Some people love that shit. Good for them. I was jealous of the people who loved it, like I just couldn't. And the best part of my day was writing a funny email to like a group email chain and then having, just like Jack's talking about, like busting balls and then having someone go off the email chain to be like, yo, that was the funniest thing I read all day. That made my day. And it's like, that was a drug injected into my vein. So I was like, how do I repeat the drug? How do I find the dealer? And so I just like started doing open mics. And it's interesting, like Pat, like you tell people about this, and right away when you do something like we do, whether someone's like, oh, that's cool, or they think of you as like idiot delusional.
Yes,
and,
100%.
And you see both the faces. You see it from friends, family, cousins, people you never met before. Telling people you're a comedian, like, it's offensive to people. And then you because some people take I'm a comedian as, oh, you think you're funnier than me.
You're funnier than me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tell me
and
a
it's
joke.
like, tell me a joke. And it's like, and in the beginning you get like numb to it, because in the beginning you do tell them the joke and then you embarrass yourself, like in the beginning you're like, no, I want to prove it. And then it becomes your career, and you're like, and you become thankful for the people that kind of look at you and go, oh, cool, and just let you do it. You become thankful for the people that come to shows, of course, but like more of the people that are like, are just interested and don't think you're crazy. And when, so that's a big thing with it. So when I was doing, I'm living in New York in the center of comedy. I could do open mics every night. I could write from, a Starbucks, use their internet. I could take classes, improv, sketch writing, acting classes, commercial classes. I could go and kind of like take a little taste of everything at the buffet. So, and that's kind of where, and without knowing that we'd be looking at each other in a post-apocalyptic reality where we're on, the Jetsons right now. Like, who would have known this would be... You know what I mean? Like, who would have known this would be the reality 11 years later? But, all of it was like, I just want to be funny for money. I want to make a living being funny. That was always the goal. And it turns into, like this, which is great.
I think Pat and I talked about while we were doing some research up on you, like the whole email thing. That's kind of how, I wouldn't say how I got my start by any means, but I was the social chair in my fraternity. And every weekend, I would send the agenda of the rundown of what's going on this weekend. And then the end goal is obviously to get these guys excited, but to make them laugh and have fun. And I think that's kind of, similar experience. Like a lot of my buddies, no one in my fraternity is doing what I'm doing. No one's working in sports. Everyone's doing finance or going to law school or whatever it may be. And, we're out here just doing our thing. And it's like, they back me, they support me, but like they cannot relate, where it's like, I mean, you can relate to us and the people that work in sports can relate to us, but that's a great take, because I feel like so many people just don't get it, but they're like, oh, I'm here for it. Or maybe you're talking behind my back. I don't know. Like Jack Freid starting a podcast. Like, who does he think he is? Why would anyone want to listen to him?
Sure. And I think like, the reason you guys have, are good at what you do, the reason that we're good is that we do think, oh, maybe someone's talking. There's a little bit of awareness of like, yeah, I'm sure I could talk shit about myself probably better than them. So but that's what keeps you going. That's what keeps you like a little bit more honest. That's why, you listen to, oh, you know what? I was a fraud doing XYZ. And that was, so it's why we do this. You have that voice. Oh yeah, he started a podcast. Look at this idiot. I get it.
Oh man.
You mentioned that you basically tried like every form of comedy, which is another thing that I admire you for, because I know when I was originally trying to do the writing thing and the sketch thing, like I did take some of those UCB classes as well, but like it was all with the end goal of like making short videos or doing a very specific thing. I feel like between those classes, stand-up, podcasts, writing articles online, sketches, your Instagram stories during The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. Like, you've tried pretty much like everything. How do you think that has helped you in your career in terms of just being like well-rounded and having all that experience?
Well, it's some of it's a little depressing. I'm like, man, Jared, you look like a real fucking try-hard idiot. But it's like you don't want to be mediocre at everything, that's like, but I kind of saw, like, again, going back to, like, I had the ability to pay for the classes. So, like, why would, like, I kind of saw my start in comedy as grad school. Like, I really did. I was like, 4 years from now, like, I'm investing time, money, energy in, like, a 4-year program where I can be, like, I want to be an expert. That's always, like, and I think that's a thing. Like, I was talking to a younger comic yesterday, and they're asking for advice, and I was like, make sure you're never desperate, because your goal should be getting so good. And my goal was always to just get good. And so, again, like, doing everything, taking an improv class, I'm not an improviser. And, like, just like you said, like, when you do these classes, like, you'll meet people in these classes that are delusional. Like, people thought they were going to, like, sign up for UCB, and then, like, the next stop was Lorne Michaels. Like, people legitimately thought that. Like,
yes. Yeah.
And again, everyone has a little bit of that in them. Like, everyone has a little, tinge of that, but, like, you see the people with, like, the most of it, like, and, like,
yeah,
and
you're crazy.
And it's hard to be around, because you're like, oh my God, like, it's like being the most sane person in the insane asylum, because you're like, look at these crazies, and then it's like, here's my new script, like, you're passing in your paper, you're passing in your script right after crazy. And I remember one time there was an improv class I took. It was like level, I did like 3 levels of improv. And I remember one class, there was an older woman who was in the class. I remember complaining to my dad that she sucked. And and improv is one of those things, you have to be very zen. You have to be like, whatever idea comes, you play with the idea. Like, it's so against my judgy piece of nature. But, like, I remember, like, one of our teachers was, like, one of those guys that's at the airport with, like, the one ponytail that gives out the flowers. Like, it was, like, one of the... And, like, you're with such different people. Then, again, Jack, you're talking about, like, the people in our fraternities. Like, it's just such a different crew that I'm used to. Yeah. And I remember there was an older woman. She was in the class, and she just, like, didn't get it. Like, she didn't get, the basic rules. And I'm like... And in my mind, I'm like, I want to be the funniest person in here. And every time I try to do that, this old, and I'm telling this to my dad, and again, I don't mean that she's an old. I'm wrong. Because my dad goes, you're an. My dad was like, stop. He's like, she has her reasons for doing this too. Like, she has her reasons. You have your reasons. Those have nothing to do with one another. Like, you have to stop, you have to let that person, you don't know if she's in a bad marriage, this is the one time she gets out of the house. You don't know if she's in a workplace where she never says a word, and this was her big moment. This was her big New Year's resolution. So you, Jared. And I was like, you're right. You're absolutely right. And that kind of, like, I think about that all the time, because I'm like, why am I in an improv class? I'm not the delusional one who thinks he's going to, like, walk into Lorne Michaels' office the next day. Like, I'm here to get better. So now, like, the live stream with The Bachelor, like, I don't make money off that, but, like, that is how a lot of people know me. And it's like, the only reason I'm good at that, and the only reason I can make jokes within, I can get done with the episode within 5 minutes of it ending, and I don't have to, like, write out 1,000 things, and I know what sounds right, and I know how an audience will receive it, and I know what's over the line, because I know I'm kind of towing the line a lot of times. That's all with experience. That's all from taking those classes. That's all from doing open mics every night. Like, all of it comes together Like it's almost Danielson with the wax on, wax off, and then all of a sudden, I know how to fight. So like and it's now 11 years in. Like that's how you become a professional in anything.
That's so true. New York is in full swing this morning. Love the sirens.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you're
talking about that.
I had to open a window. I'm sorry. I'm so hungover. I'm like,
long night. What were we drinking?
I was drinking vodka. I went to the Comedy Cellar last night just because I hadn't been there so long. They're doing like, dinners with, spoken word poetry going on, like, so it's kind of this underground cool thing, but it's, this Comedy Cellar is just like, that's the mecca of comedy. So it's just nice to be back there.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, like one thing that I'm curious about, and you've built quite the following, and like you said, it's not necessarily through just comedy. It's through The Bachelorette or The Bachelor, giving those live takes. What was something you would recommend to us, right? We're starting out. We're doing this sports thing. We're having people on. We want to grow our following, but we want to keep it organic, right? We want to keep it the people that we want following us that's going to engage with it.
You need reoccurring bits. You need a show, like beginning, middle, end. Because that's the thing. You have to do a show that, like, I don't need to show up for. You don't need, you have to have a guestless show, a show that could be guestless or guest, and it's just as enjoyable both ways. So that is something with podcasts that I'm, like, big on, because it has to be, like, I can do my podcast by myself if I had to. And I'm aware, I look for feedback. I'm like, I'll say, like, hey, please let me know if this sucks. And I'll get, like, a lot of good feedback where it's like, no, I like the lone ones better or worse. You hear back. But, like, numbers stay consistent with me alone versus a guest. But, like, I think that's a big thing. And then you just want, like, things again, like, podcasts are the most intimate art form. You're literally inside people's bodies. Like, if you think about it, like, they put their AirPods in. You are inside of their body during their most alone time. You're the one holding their hand during their commute or during a long ride or during a workout. So I think, like, that's a big part is, like, consistency. People want to, like, have their hand held, know what they're getting into before they kind of get there.
That's a great point. We've had a lot of feedback, good and bad, and I think the most thing we've got is that if it was just a me podcast, it would probably more people would tune in. But Pat's taking on the line.
That's the biggest no. I'm just dead weight here. So.
Yeah.
It's all fun. It's all fun. It's just busting some chops. Well, next question. What's your end goal? What are you trying to do? You're out here.
This was it.
Killing it
to get on.
This is it.
Podcast.
Still eligible.
Still eligible.
Hang up the cleats.
Finally, one day, get that merch from you guys.
We're gonna get you some gear.
I want a hat. I want a hat. I don't know. It's hard to say. Like that was never an easy. Like people would ask me that. Like, do you want to be like that? I would, as long as it's fun.
I mean, I think
funny,
it's always changing, right?
It's always changing. Like I would, my goal. There's no end goal. There's.
Yeah.
Stand up to me, I think Kyle Kinane, he's a very funny comic. I kind of heard this quote from him secondhand, but I've always believed in it. Stand up's the prize. You get to do stand up if you're doing the other work. You get to do stand up if you're writing. You get to do stand up if you do the podcast and put it out on a daily basis or whatever basis. You get to do people come to your shows when you do the other work that it takes, to, get people to like know about you and want to like, so that, the goal is always to do more stand up. And again, investing my money and making a special like the one I made, like I want people to see that and want to come to more shows because they enjoy my vibe. They like my humor. But I'd like to do stand up on the Tonight Show. Like that was like something that was like, I had submitted and was, kind of pre-approved to go on, and then the pandemic hit. Like I was kind of just waiting on a date. So then I was like, this date's coming. Then all of a sudden you're like, cases are going up. They're not allowing audiences, and so now I hope that goal can be achieved once things come back.
Well, we are big fans. I've been a fan since Harry Freid put me on to you. So, and I will continue to be. just want to make sure we're plugging again. So socially distanced, of course, drops Tuesday, March 2nd at 9 p.m. Eastern on your YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Jared Freid. We are
hit the bell button.
Hit that bell button.
Hit that
Hit
alert.
the bell. I don't know if people know that bell thing unless they're us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that bell thing has been driving me crazy because I'm all about, like, just like you said, Jack, like I like to market. Okay. Big marketer.
You're pretty good at it. Pretty good.
Listen, I can sing, dance, and dust. I like to bark. So I can't get across how to explain to people that bell. Because I tell people, I'm like, YouTube has made things not easy. You have to download the YouTube app to have a subscribe button and the bell. So if you're just going from the swipe up to Safari on your phone, it's a whole different thing. You got to log in, or you just like, again, these are complaints that someone listening is like, what are they talking about? I'm just saying, if any of your fans are YouTube people, they've made it incredibly hard for me to transfer my Instagram people to YouTube.
Oh, you should see my mom's questions when we post stuff of like what she'll text me like, do you want me to add something to this, or how do you want me to share this? And I'm just like, just hit
I like
share
when I'm watching
because,
it on my TV.
Yeah, it's.
Do you understand?
It's a
I was just in
process.
Boca since December, and do you understand all I did in Boca? I would wake up, and then I would insert all of my Netflix passwords into each TV, and then I'd go to bed again. That was every day, just re-entering Netflix passwords into TVs for my dad. That was all day long, just going from TV to TV, entering a password, changing the password, uppercase.
You just got to get an
lowercase.
Apple TV on the road. Just an Apple TV.
It's not me though. It's my dad. He's like, I want to use the Hulu. I want to use your Netflix. I gotta call Hulu today. Yeah.
So we got a new segment we're gonna try out
Love
here. Taking your advice on the fly. So we're calling this "It's Not About Us." So we want you and our listeners to know we're team players. We're not selfish. We work as a team, Michigan and Ohio State fans, and we want to kind of live in your world for a little bit. We don't want to make it entirely about us. We're trying to be better marketers, but it's not about us. Having said that, if we were contestants on The Bachelorette, we want to kind of get your feedback because you're such a, you're so in that world. What round do you think each of us would make it to?
Ooh. I think you
can ask some questions if you need to pick the brain here a little bit. I know, I don't know.
Jack,
you know more than we do.
Jack, what would your job be? How would you get out? What would your limo entrance be?
I'd probably come out dancing, to be honest. I'm a big dancer.
What song? How are you dancing? I need to know, because that's the big thing. Because here's the thing about The Bachelor is you got to get over that initial hump. And listen, I hate to break it to you both, but you don't exactly have the body type that just gets passed through to the next day.
Yeah, you're not the first person to tell me that.
I'm in that group too. I'm not getting out of the limo and I'm not getting looked at and then going, okay, well, he's getting a rose. Like, you gotta impress when you're coming out of that limo, because some people, there was a guy that like wore a straitjacket and said, I'm going crazy for you. But then the rest of the night he wore the straitjacket, but he did go through because he becomes memorable at that point. So give me the whole limo entrance from getting out of the limo, each of you, I want you both to do it, getting out of the limo to saying hello to the Bachelorette.
Oh boy.
Can Pat go first on this?
I think you can go first. I mean, I'm pretty.
Maybe you guys should have taken that improv class that I talked about.
I should. My first thought right now is I should have gone to 301. I stopped at 201. That was probably included in the 301 course.
They didn't let me into 01. So, Pat,
I'm a pretty. Again, going back to some of the things we were talking about earlier,
I'm a fun guy.
I'm a fun guy. I'm pretty straightforward. Like, I don't think I would get out. I can't see myself wearing a straitjacket. I'm not a dancer. I think I would probably just play up the angle that all girls love so much of I am a co-host of a podcast. And I think that would probably either as I've seen in Dallas with dating apps, again, forgot to mention you're a huge relationship advice guy, dating app guy. That tends to either work really well or terribly because they assume that when you say that, it is not your full-time job. So I think I would probably take that risk and let them know that I'm a creative, which would be in my bottom line. But
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You would have to assume, like, I guess you're banking on the Bachelorette assuming that you have the biggest podcast ever. Like, why would you mention it if it were not huge and a incredible revenue source for you? So, but you gotta bring in, like, I would bring in the chairs and a desk and do a little mini interview. Like, that could be a fun thing because you know how they like come in the different cars, or like, you know, you could put out like, or you come with like kind of like a thing like you would hang the 2 microphones from like a clothes hanger and put it in front of you. Hey, I'm Pat Stanzik, and I've got, you know what I mean? That could be a fun thing.
Yeah. But again, banking on the fact that they think that it's bigger than it is, which as of now, it probably needs to be until we continue to grow this
That's
thing.
always been my biggest problem. People are like, you should go. When I was single, people were like, you should go on The Bachelor, you should go on The Bachelor. And I'd be like, I can't go on for 2 reasons. If they had comedian in the lower third, I could never be as funny as comedian says. Mm-hmm. Like you'd have to literally, I'd have to literally dress as a clown every day and start honking horns to like keep up. Yeah, exactly. People are like, I thought this guy was funny. He hasn't said a funny thing all day. And also, I couldn't go on because I'm too fat. And because if you've ever met some of these bachelors, I don't care. You could be in the best shape of your life. You're not as in good a shape as the men who go on The Bachelorette. They are Marvel Avenger level bodies.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why you got to come out hot from the limo. Jack, do you have an idea of what's the dance going to be?
Yeah, so I think the big thing for me is, like you said, I don't have the body. I'm one to recognize that, but I appreciate you for pointing that out. I think I get out of the car in a nice slim fit, gray tailored suit, you know, no tie, because if you wear a tie, someone above you is telling you to wear the tie, so don't wear the tie.
Going
coming
gray.
out dancing going gray, yeah.
Okay.
Like a gray, you know, a classy gray. Not like a dark gray, not like a light gray, somewhere in between. Just, you know, shows I'm here for a good time. So I think the light, mid to light gray, I'm putting on Chance the Rapper all night. I'm going to come out doing a little bob and weave, nothing crazy, but showing you here, like, hey, you know, I'm a fun guy, right? I'm more fun than Pat, clearly.
Yeah, that's very clear.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's kind of my angle. As I play the sweet and innocent, but I can dance kind of card. I can't actually dance, but it's all a couple vodkas in
you have
me,
the,
and I'm
you have the,
dancing
you
like
have the
never mind.
confidence to dance, whereas I am not in that boat. So
Yeah, I don't know. You gotta. I think Jack's going farther than Pat in this scenario. Pat's entrance of "Hi, I'm a podcast host. I'll see you inside" isn't really singing to me. At least there's a little 2-step would be nice. You know, I think that's gonna help you out. I always had this dream that if I was on The Bachelor, I would come out Cleopatra style. I'd be carried by
Wow.
seven shirtless men, gorgeous men, and they're all in gold adornments, togas, and I'm eating. Someone is on the bed with me, feeding me grapes. So they gotta really lift a lot of us, and then as the woman would be laughing, whatever, smiling, and they'd go up to her. And I would, instead of saying hello, I'd just drop my hand off the side of the bed. And on my hand, there'd be the biggest ring. And it would say, "Kiss me." And she would kiss the ring. And then I would just go into the house. Nothing is said except that.
no conversation.
No conversation, no introduction. And the rest of the night, they're carrying me. So so these guys carry me around the whole night. And
I mean, that gets
even
you
at
to
the
the
rose
next round.
ceremony, it's me with 7 shirtless men holding me, and they're like, you know, when they flash to they'd flash to Jack, they'd flash to Pat, worried, am I gonna get it? And then me,
you just got the wide shot.
Yeah.
It's like all these guys are jumped up over here, and then you're like, you've got the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
there's
the
no
thing,
way you thought that one out.
The Bachelor needs more fun to it. I think this season's been kind of you know, all these serious subjects get involved, and I'm not one of those people that's like, keep the politics out of my Bachelor. Like, I'm not like that. Like, you have to address it. You got to talk about it. But, like, I want more fun stuff in the show that, like, that we can all have fun with. Like, I want to watch, like, I've always wanted them to go on a date that the Bachelor could afford. Like, you know, like, just them in, like, taking a Toyota Camry. Yeah, I want to see, like, them at a Burger King, you know?
Chicken fries are good. Chicken fries are real good.
Can't deny that.
All right, so speaking of chicken fries, this is not on my charcuterie board, but we know that you're a big charcuterie guy. I saw you go live last night. The board lord, some would say.
All would say. I would say.
Yes.
I saw you live last night. We were talking about this. Pat had to Google how to say prosciutto before this, so he definitely doesn't know what's going on. We're not the board lords in the slightest, but we made some boards. We want to run them by you. I'm going further in the Bachelor. We want to know who has the better board at a tailgate. So, can you roast us as we go?
Let's do it.
All right, I'll go first. So, mine's for a tailgate, like I said. I think the pimento cheese ball shaped like a football, some sort of, tying that into the game. I think that's step one. And then I got some pretzel bites with some mustard. I think it's, sporty. It's what you do.
Do we have a picture, or you just have a list? This is.
I'm just listing.
Yeah.
I'm just listing. Okay. This is just.
Let me close my eyes and imagine.
Yes. So pimento cheese ball, pretzel bites, maybe a little Dijon mustard, whatever you're into. Chicken wings. I think that's a must. It's kind of a big board. It's a hearty board, if you will. Some cocktail peanuts. You got to have a little salt in there. The people love that. Some veggies. I'm not going overboard on veggies. I don't think cucumbers belong on a board. But maybe some like peppers, some celery, carrots, to offset some of those other things. And this might catch you for a loop, but some M&Ms. I think having a little chocolate in there with the chocolate. That's kind of my board. I don't know. I don't have a name for it, but Jack's tailgate board.
I've never heard a more Ohio Midwestern board than the one you just. That literally.
We could throw some Gouda cheese on there.
I mean, the fact that you said Gouda made it more higher end is hilarious, and it made it even more Midwest. I would say it's fine. It's just that's a tailgate spread. Like that is. I like the football cheese shape, the cheese shaped as a football. I do like that. I would say yours is just a very very Myers Market chic. It's very, I feel like I could see the wood paneled walls in the 2-bedroom house. I can see the home it came from. It is fine. It'll get you through. I don't know about wings on a board. They're gonna get cold. If I'm at a tailgate, I want my wings, over
off the grill.
Oh yeah, off the grill or over a sterno cup of some sort. So I'd say you have the right intention.
Yeah.
For your board.
Well, that's all I can ask for. Okay. You're the board lord.
That's true.
So this is gonna be fun. Also, probably similar to my Bachelorette entrance, so I'll just get it over with. It's gonna be
bland. It just has special K. It's just special K designed, and it says Pat in cursive.
Cheddar cheese. Done.
Definitely knew how to pronounce both charcuterie and I don't know how to pronounce it. Great. Here we go. Ritz crackers. I'm a big Ritz crackers guy. Peppered salami.
Off. You're already.
Yeah, you just Ritz.
You open with Ritz crackers, Pat?
Yeah.
You can't do Ritz
crackers. It makes
crackers.
me look so good.
I'll keep going for the sake of the segment.
But I have an explanation on Ritz crackers. You can't do it. I know you like them, but this is, again, you guys are a sports podcast. It's not about me. It's about the team. And Ritz crackers. When someone does a board and they go, well, you've already f***ed up.
Yeah.
It's already over, but go on. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, need to be a team player in the future, but I'll continue this for the sake of the segment. I got some pepperoni on there.
Okay.
Habanero mango cheddar.
Did you just Google something? What is that?
Don't worry about it. I got some raspberries.
High-end
apple
fruit.
Slices. Some apple slices.
Low-end
Pistachios. Prosciutto, I believe, is the pronunciation. Right, and our producer Sandra is letting me know this is a Lunchables. So that's my board.
You've made a Lunchable.
Yeah, you gotta throw a high C in there.
Here's the problem with that board is you need to
there are many, but yes.
There are amongst them. You need to be able to dance around the board with a drink in hand and the other hand doing your eating. The problem with the Ritz cracker is that it gets stuck behind your teeth. At some point, you're going to have to go like this to get the Ritz out from behind your teeth, push it into your mouth to re-eat it again. It's disgusting when you explain it, but I understand if you like a Ritz cracker, you like that game. Now you
like it twice.
Yeah, you like it twice. Now you have a finger that has been put into your mouth, pushed against your gums, and now it is going back onto the board.
COVID friendly,
yes.
Some would say.
Not
Yes.
COVID friendly. It's just not friendly in the least. Just generally unfriendly.
Yeah. And I'm a pretty friendly person, so
yeah, that's right.
As soon as I realized the Ritz cracker flaw, I just need to apologize to both of you, really, because I'm sorry for putting you in this position to have to explain the Ritz cracker conundrum.
You've insulted my imagination.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. So we have a final question we've been asking all of our guests. We're going to be traveling for this is a podcast, but also a travel show. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be traveling to a lot of sporting events. If you could attend any sporting event as a fan, what would it be?
Ooh. You want to go to so I did this show for Snapchat called How Low Will You Go? And it was a game show. It might still be on there if you go on Snapchat at all. And we went to different I think just a college football weekend is like, that's the top tier of any sporting event for travel. Like, because you're going to towns that are like, and if you go to like a big game weekend, whatever that big game may be, you're there for like the weekend of the year. Like, that is such a fun thing. It feels like you're flying into a war zone. Every weekend we went, because it feels you just like, there's energy. It's palpable. You feel it. Super Bowl sucks. It's not really a great event. Because it's all corporate and you just have you're not in. I would say I would go SEC football game weekend is probably the best, and I would even say a great one to do would be like an Ole Miss. I went there once, and yeah, I love that the most because they don't care about winning the game. So they just care about the party. And I remember I was in an Uber there, and I was like, I would always just like ask the Uber driver, I'd be like, what's it like here? Is it a fun place? And I remember in Ole Miss, I asked the Uber, I was like, how do the games get pretty wild here? And the guy just goes, just like that for the rest of the Uber drive, like, so I would encourage people, just do one that's like kind of like off the, Ole Miss is far from the airport. You have to like fly into Memphis or something, right? Like, I think that's, I'm saying it right.
So. Drive down to Oxford.
Yeah. So I went there once. Like, there's some schools I wouldn't go to for a game. Like, I went to Penn State. A Penn State football weekend's a blast, but I don't know if it's like, it's so far away from everything that like, there's no reason to go. Like, I don't know. It just wouldn't. Penn State is so insular. Like, again, a lot of these college football towns are insular.
That whiteout game is wild, though.
Whiteout is wild. Like, to be in the stands, that's fun. Like, I'm trying to think, like, because I'm thinking overall, like post-grad, overall experience. Like, I went to a Alabama LSU game That was one of the weekends. And, those two schools are fun for those people, but the energy there was dangerous. Like, I actually felt like you could get punched in the face at any turn. Like, it was weird. Like, it
Don't
just
want
felt,
that. No.
Yeah, it just felt like fights were around the corner. We went to this place, Fred's, and did the game show from Fred's. And it's just so aggressive. Like, we were at this place, and we're taping the show, and the show was a reverse auction. So, like, if you two were against each other, I'd be like, I want to shave your head, and I'll give you $100 to shave off one of your eyebrows. And I'd be like, Jack, I'll give you $100. And you'd be like, I'll do it for 100. And then I'd be like, Pat, I'll give you 90. And you'd be like, I'll do it for 90. Then I'll be like, Jack, 80. And you'd be like, I don't know, I need this eyebrow. And then I would give, and then you'd tap out, and Pat would get the $90. One of the events was like pouring something gross on someone's head. So we were at LSU, and the Alabama kid lost, and we had to pour gross stuff on his head. So we just poured the gross stuff on his head. All of a sudden, these LSU people just come up to him, and they're like, got you, got you, got you. And you're like, dude, we just did it. We just did it. Then, like, the kid is like all gross. He's got to like walk around all day with the gross stuff. We give him like a t-shirt. We go to the back, and like we're hosing him down. And even while we're hosing him down, the same people are like, got you, you got you. And we're like, dude, shut the up. Like lay off. Like, he just played the game. And then it's just like everything had that like aggressive energy at every turn. And I was like, this isn't as fun. Like, that's why Ole Miss was like the right amount of fandom, and we want to have fundom, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, maybe we're planning on traveling every week in the fall, planning on going to all these big cities, these big games, rivalries. Maybe if you can find some time, you can join us along the way.
What's the place you guys are going to go? Like, what's the one that gets you guys the most excited? I know Ohio State, Michigan, like that's like obviously on the calendar.
I think that's the most exciting part about that. I mean, the game will be great, but having Jack stay with my family for Thanksgiving will probably be the most electric part of
Great
that.
video content.
I think you should.
Oh, yeah.
We've already been over this.
Yeah.
Mrs. Stanzik's excited to have me. We do this thing called I'll Leave You With This, where we tell a story. I don't know where it's going, but I'm assuming it's going to be funny. So we wrap up the podcast with a story of I'll leave you with, I don't know. I can't even explain it. I'm trying to be whatever.
You're doing fine.
You're doing a good job.
Wrap it up.
I'll tell
Podcasts aren't easy, man.
I'll leave us with this. I get it. So I went to Penn State to tape this show. How low will you go? How low will you go? We would set up in the tailgates, and it would be a backdrop, and it was Penn State. I graduated from Penn State. We talked about like selling life insurance. I think the transition from Penn State to real life is like very difficult. Michigan, people at Michigan are like, it felt like my brother went there. It feels like people at Michigan are always thinking of the next after the 4 years. What business are we going to start? What are we going to do? Ohio State, you're in Columbus. You're near a city. So you're near people that could hypothetically be your next boss. So you kind of zip it up a bit. You might meet older people that go to a day job. You might meet a lawyer. Penn State is in the middle of nowhere. It's 3.5 hours from Philly, 2.5 hours from Pittsburgh. There's nothing there. There's no thought of like, maybe I'll have an internship while I'm in school. Like for the people I knew, like it's just like everyone is there. Like, and for that reason, they think they convince themselves that they're like crushing it because you're doing better than the guy who couldn't make it through your math class, So like, so it's like Penn State has this weird, confidence that only comes with not seeing people who have day jobs. Like, it's just, and like people will be like I went to the business school at Penn State. The business school at Penn State is fine. But like, if you meet someone there, they'll be like, oh, and we have the number 30 business school. No, you fucking don't. There's 4 colleges in the country that matter, that jump off a resume, and Penn State ain't one of them. So that's okay. I say that. And you know what? Ohio State ain't one. Michigan depends if you're meeting with the right person. Okay? I'm just saying. And I'm sorry for the hard reality. That's the truth.
I didn't go to Ohio State, but it's all right.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that was the dynamic of this show. I've missed the whole point of this show.
No, you're right. It's
Miami,
Where'd
Ohio,
you go,
but,
Jack?
but I digress.
Miami of Ohio.
That ain't good either. Okay, so now, so
I went to Ohio State.
So I hadn't. Yeah, I went. So, but Penn State is in this middle of nowhere thing where everyone's convinced themselves that they are like crushing college, which good for them. I wish I had that kind of, delusion. I wish you need that delusion to get through life sometimes. Penn State had it, and most college kids have that. Most college kids, I had that. So I understand it. I'm not saying it because I don't understand it. I'm just saying it takes a while to shake off after college. But Penn State had it in spades. We had people, so when we would set up our backdrop at a fraternity. So we're going to do our show. We're going to tape our show. So the backdrop says, how low will you go? And it's a big blue just sheet. And we'd have cameras. And here's how confident Penn State was. Women would walk by as if they were the governor of Penn State and be like, what's going on here? Like as if we didn't, it was as if we didn't like put the right papers in for the right permits. Like, what's happening here? And I would tell all the girls that walk by, I'd be like, oh, it's a photo booth, $20. And they're like, $20? I'm not spending $20. Women would give us $20 and then pose in front of it as if we were taking their pictures. Like we were just
that's awesome.
It was so funny. And then I'd give them back their money, and I'd be like, we're just joking. You can take as many pictures as you want. It's a TV show. You would explain it, but like there was no other school in the country where the students felt they had the right to ask us what we were doing, or felt they deserved the answer to what we were doing more than Penn State. So at the time, I didn't, I had a little bit of a following, and there was a guy that followed me who's like, my family owns a wing place, and we'd love to send you and your crew food. Oh, I'm like, that's amazing. Thank you so much. So he sends this massive spread of wings, and we have it under.
It's probably good for the charcuterie board.
Perfect for one of your Midwest charcuterie boards. So So we set up for the whole cast and crew an amount of wings that was like, oh, you couldn't eat them all. Boneless, bone, hot, all the flavors. All of a sudden, this college kid is in like a Penn State jersey. He's got like, the Nittany Lion hat on or whatever. And he comes up and he approaches this table as if he owned Penn State. He goes, what's this? And we're all sitting there. We're all sitting at the table eating wings with the setup still going. This guy walks in. He goes, what's this? Picks up a wing. Picks up a wing. Do you understand the confidence to just pick up food off of someone's plate?
Someone else's food.
Someone else's food. Picks up a wing. Puts it in his mouth. He's like, what's going on here? He goes, lights, cameras, action. And we all were sitting there like, these are working adults. Like I live a pretty ridiculous life, but like the camera person, the sound person, the director, like these are people with families. These are people that are like just trying to get by just like me, but like we're all just trying, like we're there for work. We're not there. And this kid, and he looked at us like, and we all were legitimately, we didn't speak for like 10 minutes. We were just sitting there like, what is going on? He goes, nothing? What's happening? We're like, dude, did you just pick up a wing off our plate? And he's like, oh, I thought these were out. Yeah, you thought this was just a walk-by buffet? You don't even live in this fraternity. You're just walking by the street. And it's like, That's the confidence of a Penn State person. That's the delusional confidence. That's the problem with a state school. That's the problem with living in a town where there's no city. That's the problem with going to with someone telling you that Penn State's business school is number 13 in the country, is that you get, I'll take the wing off your plate confidence. And it's just like, I'll never forget it. I was like, oh, that's why I was so at 24, miserable and depressed. I was living a lie.
That's next level confidence.
Yeah.
What do you think his entry for the Bachelorette would be?
Oh my God,
he'd come in hot.
He'd probably go. He'd probably come with a rose to give her. He'd be like, "Oh, I'm the Bachelor." He would just
This
take
is
over
my
the show.
show.
He goes, "Oh, this is my show, right? You didn't know? I'll do this. I can do it." Yeah.
I think that's the best I'll leave you with this we've ever had.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you,
granted, we're not
appreciate
far in, but you've set the standard.
Yeah.
On number 6,
We're going to go to Kansas City next week.
Kansas City,
Just
great
kind of-
town.
Yeah. Do you got any recommendations
Places
for
to hit.
barbecue or other
So,
things to do? Or
I was
looking
just in
for 'em?
Kansas City recently. What I'll say about Kansas City, the problem is everyone's gonna tell you barbecue. Everyone's gonna tell you barbecue, and they're gonna say, like, I went there and they were like, yeah, you got to go to like 3 places, and I'm like, you want me to go 3 times in 3 days for barbecue? Like, are you out of your fucking mind? Like I was like, are you trying to have me, like, my heart explode? Like, what are you trying to do to me? And I went there and I was like, and they're like, oh no, you got to go to like all the places so you could try it all. Don't go to, there's a nicer one that they're going to tell you to go to, like the one, like go to like the dirtiest one, like the one that's in the gas station. I would go to, not the one that's like a restaurant, because I can't remember the name. But there's a gas station one that you should go to.
I think the biggest thing for me this week is I'm just kind of upping the cardio in preparation for the amount of barbecue that we're about to eat.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I couldn't believe how little Kansas Cityans care about their health. Like, I like this happens when you travel places. Like, they'll legitimately look at you and tell you go for barbecue 3 times. I was like, who eats? Are you kidding? Like, are you legitimately kidding with me? And you're gonna see when you travel places, people are like, you gotta have. No one ever says like you gotta have like the turkey club from somewhere. It's always like, you gotta have this bacon sandwich. It's all bacon, and then it's wrapped in
bacon.
Bacon, yeah, like, and then it comes on a pig's hoof, and
it's wrapped in bacon.
yeah, you gotta. It's like, so everyone, whenever you travel somewhere, you gotta try. No, they got this French fry that's inside of a cheeseburger that you put it up your, and so it gets to your heart quicker, and you're like, dude, I have to live a life. Like, I have to be a human being. Like, this isn't my, like it's always a meal like that, no matter where you go.
Oh my God. That was unreal.
Well, we appreciate it. Is there anything you want to plug before I give you the final?
Yes,
the final
give
plug?
it to us.
The
I can't
special,
wait.
We might have
go
missed.
watch it. Go
Yeah.
enjoy it. Make a night of it. Like, and also, if you got to this point in the podcast, you enjoyed yourself. So I would say that, if you're gonna watch the special, put a nice comment, thumbs up. Let me know that you came from this podcast. Like, I think, like, my biggest fear, I'm not a YouTube guy, but YouTube commenters are the dregs of society. So I would love a little bit of positivity, a little bit of fun, a little bit of, hey, I came from Still Eligible. This was awesome. I'm a new fan. Like, that's such a nice thing to see. And that I consider that payment. Like, I think a lot of people, it's not their job. It's our job. So we get like, like, share, subscribe. When you do that, that is that costs you nothing. It means everything to me and to us. So I would love for people to comment and like and share it and have fun with it. So it's on YouTube, youtube.com/Jared Freid. If you follow me on Instagram, I'm going to be linking to it a annoying amount. So would love for you to check it out.
We're gonna plug you. We're gonna plug you in our social. That's for sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hell, I might create a bunch of YouTube accounts and just start commenting that we came from Still Eligible. So
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'll give you the plug one more time because we're
bring the heat. Bring the heat this time.
It's not about us.
Bring the heat.
I'll try to up the energy,
Come on.
even though
Do it
my
for
voice
Jared.
is.
He's been bringing the heat all day.
I know.
No,
I know.
Come on.
Stand up.
This is a Pat Stanzik 10. I love it.
Yeah. I had a Red Bull and a coffee before this, so this is all I
Talk
can
about
do.
wild, man.
Stand-up comic, host of the J Train podcast, co-host of the U Up podcast, and he's a Penn State graduate. Don't forget it. New stand-up special, Socially Distanced, of course, drops Tuesday, March 2nd at 9 p.m. Peep the Penn State helmet. Tuesday, March 2nd at 9 p.m. Eastern on his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jared Freid. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at JTrain56 and on Instagram at Jared Freid. Jared, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Jared.
We appreciate you.
I tried to make the J Train my Twitter, but it was already taken.
Yeah.
Sorry. Seat's taken. Thank you, guys. This is a blast.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Jared.
Appreciate you.
That was hilarious.
That was awesome.
Not you, the interview.
The interview, I
Yes.
know. We're coming out of it.
Yeah.
The interview is awesome. Jared is awesome. His stand-up is awesome. I was laughing that whole time. He had me laughing. I just said that twice. But
had me giggling.
You really do be giggling, though.
I do.
So
Very funny. Make sure to follow him on all his socials. He does a lot of different stuff. Big fan of his work. Think he's gonna blow up soon. So we're happy he could be a guest.
the only way to go is up, Pat.
Yeah, it's true. So real quick recap here. We did a brief little appreciate you. Gave some appreciate yous to people who are smarter than us. Together, Cade Cunningham. We appreciate all those people.
Still do.
We announced we're going to the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City.
Big
Gonna be
news.
a blast. Follow us, what we're doing there next week. And then,
We will be there Monday
yeah.
until Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Tournament starts Wednesday. And there you go.
Yeah.
Follow along.
And then had the Jared interview. So great episode.
Yeah. No, I'm pumped. We're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
Big 12. Check it out. Give us some suggestions on stuff to do, stuff you want to see. Kansas City. I mean, we keep saying barbecue. Barbecue's going to be done. No question about that.
You got to expand beyond barbecue.
We might do a TikTok or two. I don't know. Dance a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Check out the city. So, anything else you would like to say?
No,
This is episode 6 of the Still
how
Eligible
have I not? I forget that every time.
podcast. Thanks for coming along. We appreciate you, Jared. We appreciate you, Sandra. We appreciate you, our
appreciate
listeners. For Pat Stanzik, I'm Jack Schrail. We'll see you next time.
Glad you took that responsibility from me.